This is just some things I've been thinking about, the general concept of parts versus unity. I did another video on that a while back where I talked about, separates and whole, looking at life as separate elements, looking at life as a one-pointed element, and the differences and advantages and how you really need to do both at certain times and not really get captivated by either view. So I ended up titling this Why I Eschew Magick. Eschew means reject, basically. Why I Eschew Magick. And I really mean with the K, the mystical type of magic. I actually really like sleight of hand. I think it's the coolest thing in the world. I like being puzzled on how they do some of their magic. And maybe they are doing cities. I kind of doubt it in most cases. But that's the aim of the game, is to make it look like you're doing cities. Why I eschew magic with a K. Self-delusion, karma, astral attachment. Those are the things that come to my mind right off the bat when I think magic. Then I started poking around. Actually, this kind of came up again because I was poking through Wikipedia. I was on one of these terms, egregor, and I looked that up, and then I started seeing these other terms I didn't know, most of them. So I looked them all up. But it kind of gets down to mysticism too. At least to me anyway. I see magic as, I know it's an Eastern thing too with the cities, but to me it seems more of a Western phenomena. This kind of black magic, even a white magic, it's, you're asking for trouble karma-wise. Any time you get involved with other people's actions, you should do that at the minimum. So I'm going to run through this list real quick and then come back with the general topic again. Servitor. And this is a strange concept where you butt off part of your energy, name it, give it a personality, set off part of yourself for different purposes. It can be to work out something, and the shamans have kind of a concept of soul loss, and that would be kind of a different aspect of this, where you've left part of your soul behind because you couldn't. So, name, servant, acts like a servant for you. And, this can also be demons, your negative aspects. You can, cut that out of you, put it to the side, and let it kind of sit by itself, and give it a name even, and these are the things that split personalities are made out of. And my criticism of the term higher self is kind of how I got to this. Because aren't you kind of doing that if you separate yourself into a lot of different parts, and there's this higher self way up there that you really don't have any conscious connection to, something you'd pray to or whatever the hell, something real distant and isolated from you, knows all and so much more superior to you, but here you are, this isolated little part of yourself. Let's not go all the way into that. I think the whole concept, does that. It sets up a servitor type, thing where you're actually putting energy into your higher self. You're actually making a higher self. You're kind of making this stuff when you believe it, a lot of it. Egregor, that's kind of a collective group force, maybe even a parish of a church, any kind of group that puts their force together to do something. And it can also be, to demonize, or it can be to elevate, or it can be to capsulize something. So it's kind of a, obviously there's a political, I could go there too. Kia is just like universal mind, Teo unity. Kia U is universal power. Sigils, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Sigils? To make a symbol or glyph and to change it. Kind of like a monogram even. I don't know if you've seen stylized monograms for a family. Kind of has a power and a prestige of its own. That's kind of what a sigil is. They can take letters and combine them to a shape to stand for what their intent is, and then it becomes an emblem for their intent. It's almost kind of like some of the healing arts, I think, too. Jean, whatever that name was. I'm saying it wrong. Reiki even, where you have a symbol involved. Tulpa, creating a being or object. Nirmida, a mind-made body. And it's going to be for different purposes as well. Travel. There's a lot of different ways to look at this one too. Thought form, continuum. So the thought form continuum is pretty much, most of these are kind of like thought forms. From the very simple, like the sigils, which is just a symbol, all the way to like a god form, something you worship, like the oversoul. Higher self. So this is all, getting back to the parts versus unity outlook. Higher self concept, servitor. I just talked about that. Pneumatics, study cultural evolution, memes, and there's sort of a mental virus. You can do this with propaganda, you can do it with memes, you can do it with conspiracies. Conspiracies is a ultimate propaganda tool. You find something bad, you twist it a little to make it worse, and then you add a bunch of stuff, and now you've got this real evil thing that gets people riled up. Maybe some truth in it, maybe half of it's bullshit. What did I skip here? I skipped Nephilism, that's giants, fallen angels. Vitalism, vital spark, life force. Miasma, which is like a power entity. Vitalism, vital spark, life force, which I just talked about. Panpsychism, it's all mental. It's kind of, to me, it seems like a reductionist type of thing. Science, philosophers, even religions. Chaos magic. Success magic, you see these people, even the Abraham Hicks stuff to a degree. Napoleon Hill, think and grow rich type thoughts. Kind of fall into that. But basically, success magic, intent, modern mishmash of things. Often these people are really agnostic, but they use these concepts just as building blocks to fortify themselves, even though they don't really believe in any kind of organizing central force or God or whatever you want to use. So I don't use the term God too much, mostly because it's polluted. I kind of take X view on that. Enochium, spirit or angel, Adamic language, spirit language, angel. It's mostly with language, but then you get into Enochian magic, and it's a whole different thing, kind of. Complexity versus simplicity. And kind of all of this magic and strange stuff here, and detailed stuff. It's mostly, I blame on the Western. I know the Easterns have their fair share of dogma as well, but really the heart of the East is to get away from dogma. It's to have a real simple viewpoint, to me anyway. Buddhism, it's a real simple point at the heart of it. The rest of the junk you can pretty much throw out. And I feel that way for the Western too, and I think people get wrapped up into the detail so much, the forest for the trees type of thinking. The last one I wrote here was Gnostic state, which is just kind of an open, opening up your consciousness, alternate states of consciousness, one-pointed consciousness. And then they broke it down to inhibitory and esoteric and vacuolinity or vacuity, which is just kind of a vacuous, like doodling or drifting off into space, where the static is kind of like dance or drugs. Inhibitory is kind of like trance, meditation, hypnotism. So in the end, it's all about keep it simple. Complexity versus simplicity. I more blame the Western on the dogma than the Eastern, but they both have their share of dogmas. And unnecessarily complex mysticism. What does it do for you? To be able to diagram the tree of life and the upside down tree of life underneath it, supposedly, and all this minutia. What does it really do for you? Keep it simple. Minimize this stuff. Minimize building up aspects of yourself and dissipations of yourself and breaking things off and forming false enemies, and false entities that become enemies. it's just silly, most of it, to me. It's you're running into the risk of self-delusion, karma, astral attachment. Because the worst part of magic, in the Enochian magic, when it gets down to the worst part of it, is calling up entities and asking for their help to do certain tasks or do certain things for you. That's where it really gets creepy, whether it's fantasy or not, it's creepy. I can argue either way. So, that's basically all I have to say on this. Why I'm not a big magic fan, and why I don't go for a lot of the little, and why I don't go for a lot of the distractions, even to a degree aliens, and stuff like that. Channeled guides, channel yourself, channel your own wisdom. We're all one anyway. Someday you'll realize that, and you don't really have to go anywhere to find things out. So eschew all this complexity, and it's not going to do any good anyway. Never solved any problems. Just causes more.